2021 is finally upon us. We can raise our hands in the air. We can get all excited. We can party. But yes, guys, before we get into the meat of this review, I just have to say one thing. Kim, we no longer have 2020 vision.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, I never had 2020 vision. But that was a joke I was making earlier in my house, and my wife almost kicked me out the door. But today, we are going to talk about a movie that we just saw. We decided to kick the new year off right by seeing Promising Young Woman, a movie that got a lot of attention at Sundance, the film festival Sundance. And Kim, how did you first hear about this movie?
When you asked me if I wanted to review this movie, and I went and looked up the trailer on YouTube and checked it out.
Yeah, I actually watched the trailer for this thing like a year ago when it first debuted, and I thought it looked intriguing. Like, I thought it looked interesting, but...
When I saw the trailer, it did look like I might have saw it maybe in the beginning of last year when we maybe went and saw some movies, but...
I wasn't entirely sure, like, what to think of the tone. Like, I wasn't sure, like, was this going to be, like, a dark revenge thriller? Was it going to be very violent?
Was it going to have comedy? Maybe,
or was it going to have some comedy? So I wasn't entirely sure. It seemed like it was leaning more towards being a dark thriller. But my friend Steven was actually the one who recommended this movie. My good friend Steven, he saw it and he said that we should check it out because it seemed right up our alley. And I just have to say, this was a very well-written, fabulous movie that I will definitely be seeing again. Those are my initial thoughts. Kim, what did you think?
I actually really enjoyed this movie. To the point I would have to rank this movie as my number one for the year 2020 films that I've seen.
This was being advertised as a thriller, but to be honest, it had a lot more humor in it than I was expecting.
It did. It was like a subtle humor. It wasn't like, over the top, but it was nice. It was a nice mixture with the thriller.
A large chunk of it honestly felt like a romantic comedy.
It did.
And of course, as you guys know, it stars Carey Mulligan. Now, Carey Mulligan, she is mostly known for playing the nice girl in movies. She was in a film called An Education, in which she played a sweet, naive girl. Yep, there's actually one of our friends is behind the camera right now, and he's giving this a thumbs up. But she was very good in that. She was in The Great Gatsby, the 2013 film directed by Baz Luhrmann. But
wait, who was she in Gatsby?
She was the I forget the character's name, but the love interest.
Oh my goodness, that's why
Daisy?
she looked... Yes,
Daisy,
that's why she looks so familiar. Okay.
Yes. But she is mostly known for playing sweet characters. Mm-hmm. Characters who are either naive or they act as the moral compass for the protagonist. So to see her completely unhinged in this movie was very shocking.
Hey, I said, what are you doing?
This is a character that I wouldn't have chosen Carey Mulligan for initially, but she just knocks it out of the park. I wouldn't say she's a straight up antagonist, but she definitely has antagonistic things about her, but she was terrific in this movie. Would you agree that she gave one of the best performances of last year?
She did, most definitely. The way she brought that character, it was totally believable.
And guys, just a fair warning, we are going to get into some heavy spoilers. We're going to be talking about certain scenes, and of course, we have to talk about the ending, which seems to have divided some people. I do have some thoughts about the ending, because this is one of those movies that you think about a lot after viewing it.
Exactly, yeah.
It leaves you with a lot to chew on, and I certainly have some things to say. So yes, overall, this is a comedy with some thriller elements. But Kim, why don't you tell all of these fine boils and ghouls what the main plot of Promising Young Woman is? What is this film about?
So this film is pretty much about this girl. Her name is Cassie. She goes from club to club every night, and she is supposed to act as though she is drunk off her butt. She's, in a very vulnerable state where she tries to pretty much lure these guys who likes to take advantage of girls in the state, to the point where they end up going back to the guy's house. They don't get as far into it before she shows herself as a very sober and revengeful girl.
She's a vigilante.
Exactly.
And I'm sorry to interrupt, but it was at this point in the movie that I wasn't entirely sure what her angle was. Like, is she luring these men to kill them, or is she just trying to teach them a lesson? Because we do get some celebrity cameos in this movie. The first one being Adam Brody, which whenever the guy pops up in something, he usually plays a complete douchebag. Like, he was the lead singer in Jennifer's Body, and he was a complete jerk in that movie.
I liked him in Ready or Not.
Uh-huh.
He was actually pretty good in that one.
But the reason he works in this movie is because he does come across as kind of your average everyman.
Yeah.
So the fact that he is taking advantage of this vulnerable young woman is very unnerving. And there's also an appearance by Christopher Mintz-Plasse, aka McLovin, from Superbad. He's essentially playing an older version of his character from Superbad. Like, he's trying to act like totally swag, and he's doing like all these weird, creepy things, like kissing the tip of her nose.
Oh my gosh, that was so creepy.
But she is essentially teaching these men a lesson, and as we learn by the end of the film, she has been traumatized by a certain event.
Which is kind of what I kind of was seeing that coming, like, okay, so what causes her to do this? And yeah.
Would you like to get into her backstory? Like, what happened that made her so traumatized and vengeful?
So, she's pretty much very vengeful because she attended med school with a bunch of her colleagues. One of them being her best friend that she's known since they were like little kids.
Mm-hmm. Nina,
yep. And she has a bad experience where, well, not her, but Nina has a bad experience where she ends up getting really drunk, and these guys pretty much take advantage of her. And as she goes pretty much to their dean and tells her what's going on, she doesn't believe her. She pretty much takes the side of these guys. It goes to court, but it ends up falling in favor with the guys, and pretty much puts her in like this very depressed state where she ends up committing suicide. Is from what I gathered.
Yes.
And so, because that being her best friend, and nobody ever pretty much believing her, she ends up going and pretty much getting revenge for Nina.
She's a 30-year-old woman who is stuck in this crappy job at this local coffee shop. She is living with her parents, played by...
And she drops out of the med school, too, so...
She's living with her parents, played by Clancy Brown and Jennifer Coolidge. And I swear to God, it was so weird to see Jennifer Coolidge play kind of a normal character in this movie, because she's usually so outlandish.
I know, like in American Pie. And yeah, so that was a different take on her.
And you made the joke that whenever you saw Clancy Brown on screen, you just thought of his Mr. Krabs character from SpongeBob. Like, did you want to see a scene where Clancy Brown like beats the shit out of like one of these predatory men?
Yeah, pretty much. But and as you mentioned, which I forgot about that, he was in also Pet Sematary too.
Oh yeah. And along the way, she does meet a young man played by Bo Burnham. Which, by the way, I just have to say, I love that they cast Bo Burnham in this type of role, because he is so boyish looking. Like, he is very clean cut, and he is very charming and likable at first in this movie. But as we see by the end, that's not necessarily the case. In fact, something you could say about this movie is that it was slightly predictable in some areas, because she does start to go out with Bo Burnham. He is a pediatric surgeon at a children's hospital, so they basically paint him as this flawless love interest. You know, he is utterly supportive of her. He essentially, becomes the reason for her wanting to get a better life.
I'm not gonna lie, I still really, I got a kick out of that scene where they're in the freaking pharmacy, and that Paris Hilton song comes on, Stars Are Blind, and they're doing that whole, that scene was like pretty, I liked it. It was nice. And funny.
it was very funny. But it turns out that he is actually a bad character. He is a bad person because he was actually part of the group that raped and defiled Nina, Cassie's friend. Yeah. Although he wasn't physically involved in it, like, he did just stand by and he didn't do anything. He actually laughed at Nina while she was being assaulted. And I definitely saw that coming, but here's the reason why it works. First of all, Carey Mulligan and Bo Burnham have terrific chemistry. And you see their relationship, develop over time, and you do buy them as a couple. Like they are very cute together, and so when shit hits the fan, and we find out that Bo Burnham is actually a pretty despicable guy, it's still shocking. Even though it's predictable, it's still shocking because we did want to believe that he was the perfect guy, even though he's not.
Exactly, and that's how I saw it too. Because the whole time I'm sitting there thinking, how is this gonna work with their character, their relationship developing, and she's got this history with everything that she's done. It's like, is it going to be one of those movies where she tells him and he ends up coming back, or he's part of it because he did attend that school.
And even though it was predictable, it was still heartbreaking.
It really was. I was actually, like you said, I was really hoping that his character didn't go in that direction because I really, really loved them together, but it was unfortunate.
This is an incredibly well-constructed film. The director, Emerald Fennell, this was her debut feature. And it made me think back to a film that we saw in 2019. The 2019 remake of Black Christmas, which was just utter garbage. But Black Christmas and Promising Young Woman do have similar themes and messages, but Black Christmas didn't have much going for it. It was just incredibly patronizing. It was condescending. It was not well written. It was not well acted, and it was just stupid. Yeah, it was a supernatural horror film with very little merit. This film feels like it has a point.
Exactly.
Yeah. It has a clear-cut point, and it has a lot going for it. And the message, is there. That there are terrible men out there, and unfortunately they do get away with things like this, but this movie has other things that make it good and timeless. And this is very much a movie we need right now, especially in light of recent events that have occurred throughout the past few years. And yeah, I was very, very impressed by this movie. I am very glad that it's been getting the attention that it has been. And now, Kim, we need to talk about the ending of this movie because, as mentioned, this ending seems to have split a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about it a lot, and I do have some defenses for it, but I'll let you start. What are your overall thoughts on the ending?
I have a lot of mixed feelings about this ending.
Okay.
I mean, granted, I would probably have to say it was a good ending, but I don't know. It's weird. Like it was an overall good ending. I did like how it ended up, especially when there were some certain events that happens, and I'm sitting there thinking, oh man, is these characters gonna get away with it again? And if that was the case, I would have totally hated this ending and would have despised the movie a lot more. But because it wasn't that, I would have to say it was actually pretty good overall.
Yep. And let's get into some specifics. So again, spoilers. So she learns that the man who raped her friend Nina is holding a bachelor party. He has become a very successful doctor. He has recently given a speech at her alma mater. And so he's pretty much the definition of success.
Exactly.
And she learns from Bo Burnham that he's holding a bachelor party, like at this cabin. And so she dresses up as a sexy nurse, and she goes to the cabin. And what transpires next definitely subverted my expectations. Because
it wasn't predictable, because I did not see that coming.
Yes. They really pull the rug out from under you, because she basically pretends that she's a stripper. She grabs the guy, takes him upstairs to the bedroom, handcuffs him to the bed, and he's going on and on about how he is a gentleman and he would never do anything to take advantage of her. And then it seems like things are going to get rather violent and disgusting because she takes a scalpel out of her nurse's bag. But then he gets free from the handcuffs and suffocates her with a pillow, so she is dead. And no, they're not trying to pull a fast one on you. She is 100% dead. And actually, the reactions of the people behind me were very priceless. Like the woman behind me, was constantly going, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. And then, when she was lying there dead on the bed, I could hear one guy behind me going, oh, she's alive, she's alive, she's alive. But the two bros take her lifeless corpse out into the woods.
And that's how we knew that this was 100%.
Mm-hmm.
For reals.
Yes. And if the movie had ended there, if these men had gotten away with it, I think I would have been a little angry. But
that would be what would make me despise this movie if that was the case.
They do keep going because Cassie, even in death, she is able to get her revenge because she sends out these scheduled texts to numerous individuals, one of them being a lawyer played by the great Alfred Molina, who was Dr. Octopus in Spider-Man 2. My all-time favorite comic book movie. I was so happy to see him in this movie. I was so giddy to see Dr. Octopus in this movie. But he plays a lawyer, and he learns in a note that there was a tape made during the night of Nina's sexual assault, and the man is arrested. The successful man who raped Nina and basically ruined her whole life. And Cassie, even in death, does get her revenge, and that's how the film wraps up. And I don't want to say too much. I don't want to say too much more because I want you to be able to, express your thoughts as well. But I will say this. So you have two major deaths in this movie, and I thought it was interesting that Nina's death, the men got away with it, but with Cassie's death, they don't. So that's the reason why I think this ending works. I think Cassie needed to die because it does hammer in that idea that even if you get rid of these women, they can still ruin your lives, and rightfully so.
Now, when you put it in that aspect, it kind of.
But that's the way I saw the ending. I very much enjoyed the film. It was definitely one of my favorite films of 2020. Kim, let me ask you a question though. Well, first off, was there anything else that you wanted to say, like about the ending or how things wrapped up?
The only thing I would like to say is at the ending when the guys are burning her body in that little bonfire, and later on when those scheduled messages are going out and you see the dogs and stuff going out to the location.
Yeah.
And you see the Nina's necklace.
Yeah.
I, for a split second, thought it was going to be one of those, they thought it was Nina's body.
Oh, okay.
And that would have been a really good twist.
Okay.
Where, they did get caught at the end.
Yeah.
For Nina's.
So you thought they were going to mistake Cassie's body for Nina's body?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Like maybe they realized that it wasn't suicide.
Okay. So either way, Cassie still would have gotten her revenge, just a little bit differently.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
That would have been an interesting twist. And that's what I thought was going to happen when we saw her necklace. After they showed her necklace with the girl. Which is, oh, by the way, we forgot to mention that her best friend there that works with her at the coffee shop is played by
Laverne Cox.
Laverne Cox from Orange is the New Black.
She's also very good in this movie.
She is.
Tell Benny to cool it with the dirty jokes and language.
Overall, yes, we both really enjoyed this film. There is one scene that I wanted to ask you about because at first it did make me a little uncomfortable and it kind of went against Cassie's nature. At least I thought it did at first. So around the midway point, Cassie decides to kidnap the daughter of her college's dean.
Okay.
She pretends to be a makeup artist for this boy band, and she essentially kidnaps the dean's daughter. And it's all part of her revenge plot, but she goes to the college and she talks to the dean, played by...
Connie Britton.
Connie Britton, yes. And she tells Connie Britton that she left her daughter inside the storm room with all these horny boys.
Oh my gosh.
Now,
yes.
Here's the thing. So, Cassie's sole purpose in this movie is to expose predatory men, right? In this scene, she's putting a young woman's life, supposedly. She is supposedly putting a young woman's life in danger. And I understand that turns out to not be the case because
She just wanted to get the reaction from the dean.
yeah,
Yeah.
but just the fact that she was willing to go to those lengths, she was willing to go to this young daughter's school, kidnap her off the sidewalk. I don't know. What did you think about that? Do you?
First of all, it just reminded me of what we never do when we're kids. We don't go riding in cars with strangers, but
Right.
and that's what it kind of came off as. But I can see where the uncomfortability came from because
Yeah.
I kind of got there too, especially when she's telling her that she left him in the room.
Uh-huh.
Because at first I believed it, and I'm like, why would she do that? Like,
Yeah.
especially after, everything that happened with Nina and all that. It's like, why would she?
Uh-huh.
But
I suppose it does show like how desperate she is to get revenge because, as we said, that turns out not to be the case. I mean, all she did was leave her. All she did was leave the dean's daughter in his diner by herself.
yeah,
But yeah, that scene did make me a little bit uncomfortable at first.
it did, yeah.
But again, it does show her desperation.
And then it did show that she made that dean realize what she did.
Mm-hmm. But yes, this is a highly relevant film, and here's something that I've argued before. So, as we said, there are some predictable things about this movie. It does have some storytelling cliches, but here's the thing, and I've argued this many, many times before. You can have cliches in a movie. If you are writing a screenplay, you can do cliches as long as you're doing them well. Even if it's something that we've seen before, if you're executing it well, then that's fine.
Mhm.
Another film that did that was Pixar's Soul. Soul was a very good movie. It had a very familiar premise, and the message of that movie was very familiar, but the movie conveyed that message so doggone well. In this movie, I mean, we've seen stories of this type before, where psychotic women are out to get revenge on terrible men, going back to Fatal Attraction with Glenn Close. But this movie is very well made, very well executed, and that makes all the difference, in my opinion.
Exactly.
So, Kim, was there anything else that you wanted to say about Promising Young Woman?
If you haven't seen it, go watch it.
Mhm.
I definitely really enjoyed it and give it a 2 thumbs up.
2 thumbs up?
Yep.
Awesome. I will also give it 2 thumbs up. It was good to be back in a movie theater because for the two of us, the movie theater is like a second home.
Mhm.
And of course, we were being safe. There were some very strict social distancing measures in place. So, we were very careful
Exactly.
going to see this movie. But yes, it was definitely worth the time. And I'm glad that we saw it. And it turned out to be one of my favorite movies of the year.
And it was good to kick off the new year with that.
Yes. I think this is... I think this looks to be a very promising year for movies. You see what I did there?
Yes.
But yes, guys, what were your thoughts on Promising Young Woman? We would love to hear your comments down below. And as always, if you like this, go ahead and subscribe to our channel, Round the Clock Frights. And also, guys, what 2021 movies are you looking forward to? I definitely have some in mind. Halloween Kills, Spider-Man 3, Candyman, for sure. But yes, we would love to hear some of your guys' choices. Thanks again, guys. Have a scary night, boils and ghouls, and whatever you do. If you go to the club and Carrie Mulligan is there, I'm sure it will be. I'm sure you'll get your ass handed to you somehow. It will be an education for you.
Okay.
Bye, guys. Take care.
Bye.
See you later.